Good YouTube, Quinn Wade coming to y'all with basketball analysis on analysisplayground.com and on YouTube. We're going to talk about Lauri Markkanen potentially being a Warrior. I know this has been rumored all summer and basically all year long since Lauri got traded to Utah and built himself up to become an all-star and one of the best players in the NBA. And when you look at the numbers that he put up in Utah the last 2 years, 25 points per game, 49% from the field, 30% from the three-point line, back-to-back seasons, and then of course a great free throw shooter at 80% plus, and then he's also a solid rebounder at 8 a game. And you look at the fact that he can still be a great screen setter and a decent passer when you need him to be. It seems like a perfect match in heaven. You got a guy like Steph Curry that can really, really shoot the ball. You got a guy like Buddy Hield who can also shoot the ball, hit a mid range, and get to the basket and make free throws too. You got Draymond Green, another guy that can help you defensively with his communication and his ability to know how to break down how the game is supposed to be played defensively, and also helping with the boards and helping with the passing. I think that this team could be a lot tougher to guard, especially because they're not known as a great defensive team anymore. And Utah is not that since Quinn Snyder left and Rudy Gobert, but I don't think Lauri Markkanen is going to come in and be this difference maker defensively, but I think he has potential. If you have potential to grow offensively and you have the length and you have the size and you have the mobility, you could be a solid defender. And we've seen them win a championship with James Wiseman and Bielitsa, and they wasn't the greatest players, they wasn't the greatest big man, and they was able to get it done. Now we know, granted, they don't have Klay Thompson anymore. That's why I mentioned Buddy Hield. They still do have Wiggins, who is a guy that's capable of averaging 20 points like he did in Minnesota and like he did, a little bit 18 to 20-ish. Obviously, he's going to have a bigger chance and a bigger role on this particular team than he had in previous teams. He's a guy that can get to the basket. He's a guy that can knock down mid-ranges. He's a guy that can sometimes knock down a three depending on how open he is, and he's going to get a lot of shots like that because we see the screens and we see how they can get guys open. It's just up to you how you're going to make those plays happen after that, and your decision making is key when you have a system and offense that Steve Kerr has implemented on this particular team since day one. And it's tough losing a sniper, but you was able to rebound with another solid scorer in that slot. And I think that the trade probably not going to happen. I don't know why, from Utah perspective, why they would trade Lauri Markkanen. They really been getting a lot of great production from him offensively, and as an all-around player, he's become one of the best players in the league, and he's one of the players that's actually young. So if you're not giving me a huge package, which Golden State kind of has based off Summer League and based off Kaminga and guys like that, if I'm not getting something like that in return where I'm getting at least three quality players or three quality picks, I don't know how this deal even starts when you consider that Lauri Markkanen is already one of the all-stars in the league. And I don't see how that deal even comes close. When you look at players like Paul George and you look at players like a DeMar DeRozan, look at what they're going for an all-star caliber player. And it is a high cost for that. Even Porzingis, even Damian Lillard, like these are guys that's not considered number ones anymore, or never was considered a number one. And look at what you have to give up even for Drew Holiday, who's a great defender and a solid offensive player. And look at what you had to give up for DeJounte Murray. And people was talking about DeJounte. He's never been a superstar, even in high school, even in college, even in the NBA. And look at what he went for to go to New Orleans. And you got to look at it like, if we give up this amount of stuff, is like your last shot at winning a championship. Is Lauri Markkanen that guy that you should go for to increase your chances of winning the title? I say no. I don't think Lauri Markkanen makes you a championship team. I think he makes you closer to a 50-win team, but then again, you wasn't that far off of that. The Draymond Green situation happened. If he's in the games that he gets suspended for, then you already around a 50-win team with Klay. And maybe you look at trading Wiggins and Kaminga and some guys, but then you look at it from Utah perspective. Why would we want to do that? We got the younger player, we have the more talented player, we have the better offensive player, and none of these guys are great defenders like Kaminga and Andrew Wiggins anyway. And anybody that we can draft not going to be better than Lauri because he's still in his 20s. So I don't see why Utah would even consider any type of offer from Golden State because a lot of these young players haven't really played extremely well or extremely crazy outside of Kaminga. And people feel like he can take a step in the right direction. Well, if you feel it that way, especially after losing Clay, shouldn't you invest more in seeing what you get out of Kaminga and seeing if he can become that guy that can become a starter and be a guy that can be a small ball player like you had before? And then you just need a center that can protect the rim and rebound to help Draymond Green a little bit more like they did with Andrew Bogut. And that made perfect sense because if you're going to have guys that can be so explosive offensively, you can always gain the lead and trust your defense to be able to win. That's why they won a 2015 championship with Steph and Clay being young, with a Draymond, with a Bogut, protect the rim, rebound, get some transition, get some threes up, blitz them a little bit, and build up that lead and just close them out. That was a great strategy, and it was legit when they won the title. But I would say they kind of been slowly differentiating on how this offense should be done and executed. I feel like having Lauri Markkanen will extremely expand what they can do because he's a guy that can score in the inside and on the outside, and he's a guy that you have to guard and you have to pay attention to, which causes other guys like their role players to have bigger and easier jobs to do because you got to pay so much attention to Lauri and Steph, and that opens it up for Wiggins to be a backdoor cutter and to be able to get easier shots in transition because of his athleticism and his speed. But if you have a player like that, then you don't really need a player like Kaminga, so I can see why he would be the guy that you would put on your trading block. But I just feel like if you had to put all your chips in, I see why people related back then. We wanted Karl Anthony Towns, who still struggles like marketing in the playoff environment when he's not getting all the open shots and he has to take contested shots and he has to take tough shots and he has to score a little bit in the paint. He has to score a little bit in the post and he's not able to do it consistently. So he seems a little softer. He seems like a guy that tries to run away from contact as much as he can. Lauri Markkanen is a similar type of player. Obviously, he's a step below because Towns has a better post game than Lauri Markkanen, and he's a better 3-point shooter and free throw shooter. Depending on the numbers, I feel like they're very close. But offensively, Towns can definitely kill mismatches because he's a better post player, and he's been that way for multiple years. But Lauri Markkanen ain't that far behind offensively, so you couldn't really get Towns because just like Minnesota, we don't see why we get rid of this guy when he's so unicornish and so rare to have a big man that can shoot that well, offensively and with so much ease. And Markkanen is one of those guys that developed his way into that, and it's not fool's gold because of the 2 seasons that he has done it against the highest competition in the Western Conference, and these numbers are legit throughout these 82 games that he has played. So Lauri Markkanen was a guy that a lot of people seen could be this type of player. We just didn't know if he was ever going to get there because all these seasons that he was playing underperforming, for almost 10 years until these last 2 seasons. And this guy was a guy that Chicago thought that they hit big as a 14-point scorer. They just didn't use him the right way, and neither did Cleveland. And Utah and his workout session just really helped him become highly confident in his skill set and what he is as a player, that a lot of teams are interested in him, and that's why they made the trade to get him to Utah. But he also has to stay healthy. I feel like Steph has had his injury concerns and his injury problems. Same with Draymond's getting older. The more older you are, the harder it is for your body to heal. It takes more time. They can't really afford to miss, too many games because this team is a little top heavy still, when it comes to trying to win games. They need Steph and they need Lauri or they need Draymond as much as they can. And these are guys that can't even play 70 games. Sometimes they can't even play 60 games. And Draymond is always doing something crazy. So you can always count on that because he always does it every year almost. And I just feel like if you're going to put all your cards and go all in on a player, I don't think Lauri Markkanen is that guy because of the Thunder, because of the Mavericks, because of the Timberwolves having similar type of talent, but younger, more hungrier, more proven is what they're trying to be. And they already have a team like Denver Nuggets too, that's in the same age group as these other teams, and they have a young superstar like Jokic, who's not even 30 years old, that still can give buckets to a guy like Markkanen and gives them the same type of problems that a Towns will give them or any other guy, because most teams are now getting quality centers. And if you can't defend and you can't stay healthy, or you can defend a little bit and you can score a little bit, will that be enough against these teams that's just as equally offensive? And don't forget about the Lakers having LeBron and AD, who put out the Warriors with Klay Thompson a year ago. So, these teams are more evenly matched. These teams are more luck based because you never know what's going to happen in a Western Conference series at this point, especially because the talent is only going up. Even in the East Coast, most of these teams winning 40 games too, just to make the playoffs, showing you how the competition has really evolved and really expanded. And we have to see the Warriors integrate somebody, and he has to deliver, and he has to learn on the fly, because if you're getting traded, and most people don't understand why Utah would make a trade with Golden State Warriors, because you're going to have the better player already, plus you can continue to build around Lauri Markkanen in Utah and continue to make strides to be a playoff team themselves. I think that the hardest part about Utah is getting talent and developing talent, but they was able to put a 30-win team on the board, and I think that that's a look at they're far from winning the title too. So I just feel like when you look at that big five in the West, and you look at a team like the Celtics, who has a Derek White and a Drew Holiday, who you can put on Steph and Hield and these other guys as the team that's already a championship team and probably the favorite going into next year, because they brought everybody back and they still have the same defense, and it still has Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are some of the best players in the league. And on top of that, they're going to be healthier because the season doesn't start until October, and now they get to rest their bodies and get ready to play outside of Tatum and Drew Holiday and Derek White, who's playing in the Olympics, but they get some periodic time off per game, and they only play a certain amount of minutes anyway, and we can just hope and pray they stay healthy before, the season goes into training camp for these guys that's older, and we can just run it back. But what I would say in the analysis point, having all these perspectives thrown in together, Utah, don't do that trade, because it makes the Warriors a lot better offensively and a little bit defensively, because of Draymond going to help them out on that end. But it don't make sense for you to go back in talent when you're not really getting first top 15 picks, lottery picks from the Warriors, and you're not getting all-star talent. And if you wanted all-star talent, you already have an all-star talent in Lauri, so you don't want to go backwards when you're not really gaining enough pieces that warrants it. And I don't think the Warriors, the people that they can give them based on what I've seen, is enough for a guy like Lauri Markkanen, because you're already struggling to be a playoff team. Maybe you want to offload Lauri to be a rebuilding team and try to get somebody else in the lottery. But if you feel it that way, then why would you trade for Lauri Markkanen in general when you only had him for 2 years, and you already know that these are the best 2 seasons of his career, and he can only get better, especially health-wise, should be the goal next. And if that's the case, shouldn't you want him on your roster and not a opposing Western Conference rival that can keep you underneath the growing pains while you still try to figure out your roster and your situation with a bunch of guys that might not fit either, that you might have to trade again just to get another potential all-star in the draft, or more pieces to be able to get more swings at getting a number 1 pick, or more pieces to get another superstar when you already have one in your hand that's in the right age group. So I think keeping Markkanen for Utah should be the goal. He's 7 feet 240, a 20-point bucket. He does everything you want. He wants to be in Utah. He says he wants to be in Utah. And obviously they always say that, but business can be ugly. Some trades come out of nowhere, and it ends up making more sense to trade you than even the GM thought. And I also would say the thing about it is it makes more sense if it's a 3-team trade because you can get a better haul for marketing. But do Golden State really want to empty out their rosters? And I think they got better summer league wise because I feel like they picked some great players in the drafts, and I seen that. And even though you can't go too crazy over summer league, it's still basketball. And the Warriors have a great developmental staff, and they have a lot of things that could make a lot of sense for other teams. But those contracts are going to be smaller because they're going to be exhibit 10s. They're going to be 10 days. They're going to be two-way contracts. They're going to be cheap $5 to $7 million contracts. And, do you want to take that gamble if you're Utah to try to get guys that make sense in bunches? Or do you want the guy like Lauri that makes the difference guaranteed, like for sure? That's the risk of getting the draft picks. That's the risk of giving unproven superstar talent or all-star talent, especially when you already have it. And remember, Lauri Markkanen is only 27 years old. So it's not like he's about to be 35 years old, and now we got to think, do we want to give our aging superstar away like a Steph Curry? And he already done said it himself. If we're going to be bottom feeders, then it's not something I'm going to be happy or proud of. It's the reason why I'm making this video. But you also have to look at it if you're Steph Curry. This is the situation that you're in. They put you in a situation where you was able to win championships early and often, and you was always in contention, even in 2022. Even when Klay went down, people were saying, well, if Klay Thompson's healthy in 2019 and 2021 before he got them two leg injuries, maybe they keep winning more titles because they lose Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson in 19, and then they rebound in 2022 and win another championship. But obviously they've been falling off ever since that championship in 22. But that's the run. You make this run and everything goes your way, and your legacy just becomes greater because you took that opportunity and didn't take it for granted. It's something that I'll always give the Warriors organization and Steph Curry and his teammates credit for. And they said they wanted to be the Spurs of the West, and they was able to accomplish that. And it's sad they couldn't get to that last championship because of KD and Klay Thompson injuries. They definitely probably would have won another one on top of that 2022 one. But you get older, your body just doesn't heal as much. You can't. You're not as durable. You don't play at the same level, and even if you do, the competition catches up, and they start to feel confident. They start to get that hunger in them, and they want to take you down, or they want to show that they can do what you can do, which is win a championship. And we done seen the team like Denver Nuggets come out the West and win a championship just last year. And we done seen the new team like the Dallas Mavericks. They have some young guys that they brought back, and they done changed up their roster, and they're going to want another run with Klay to increase their chances of winning the championship too. And that's the question with the Warriors. Can you keep up with everybody upgrading or everybody making these gambles to increase their chance of being a title contender again? And I feel like the Warriors played a little bit too safe, and now they're losing a lot of that charm. They're losing a lot of that respect, and teams are chirping and teams are coming at their head as they should, and they find themselves in the same position as the Suns and some of these other teams where, yeah, you got the talent to make the playoffs, but do you have enough to win a title? And most people at this point would say no. That's why you got to be top 5 to be considered a contender. If you 6, 7, or 8, well, you made it to the playoffs. You're a great team to look out for. You're a team that we got to respect a little bit because you're dangerous if things go your way, especially injury wise, because anything can happen in the playoff series. We have to keep an eye out for you if you want to win the title. And we have to remember that because the Houston Rockets did it in the 90s. We got the talent. We have the ability to do it. We just need things to fall in place for us to be able to finish on top. So that's my Warrior synopsis. That's my analysis on the Warrior situation. A lot of people been knowing, what do Quinn Wade think about the Warriors? I think they're going to be a great team. They're going to be a fun team, but I don't think they're going to have marketing. They don't have one player that I want on their roster outside of Steph Curry that I would want for marketing. You can give me 3 players and picks, and I would say I'd rather have a 27-year-old marketing with our young core instead of having anything on the Warriors. The Warriors only really have about 2 players that's even thinkable in a trade, but when you're giving up a guy at 27, no way. I'd rather just run out Lauri Markkanen contract and say this is a team that we can win with, or this is a team that we can't. I'd rather just see it out more because these last 2 years he's been that good that I want to see more of it before I give up on this Utah thing. And that's what most GMs want to do, even if they get fired. Let me see out what I've envisioned. Let me see why I made this trade, why I picked up these players, and see what we can do as an organization to get on the same page and get this team winning. If you're not doing it that way, you're doing it wrong as a GM. And Lauri Markkanen is a piece to this puzzle, and I wouldn't be giving them away for anything cheaper or not the same value or not the same worth, especially when he's going to be the best player in a trade that you can put out. Even if it's a 3-team trade, most people not trying to trade an all-star for all-star. The all-star be going to the other team, not the Warriors, and that still wouldn't make sense for them to be involved after that. So I don't see the 3-team trade happening either. Other than that, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell for more analysis. And Quinn Wade signing out. I got another video coming out, so watch out for that.